The Fate of Sauron. What happened after the destruction of the One Ring? Welcome to Hidden Kingdom, where the mysteries of Middle-earth come to life. In today's video, we'll be unraveling one of the most intriguing questions in Tolkien's legendarium. What happened to Sauron after the One Ring was destroyed? The fall of the Dark Lord is a pivotal moment in the Lord of the Rings, but the true fate of Sauron's spirit remains shrouded in mystery. Did he truly vanish into oblivion, or did a fragment of his dark power linger somewhere in the void? Stay with us as we dive deep into the lore of Middle-earth and explore the ultimate downfall of Sauron. The nature of Sauron's power. To fully understand what happened to Sauron after the ring's destruction, we must first comprehend the nature of his power. Unlike mortal beings, Sauron was not just a Dark Lord, he was a Maia, one of the lesser Ainur, spiritual beings created by Eru Ilúvatar, the supreme deity of Middle-earth. The Ainur were divided into two groups, the greater Valar, who shaped the world, and the lesser Maiar, who served them. Sauron, originally named Mairon, was a being of great intellect and capability. He sought perfection and order, but fell under the influence of Melkor, the first Dark Lord, who coveted dominion over all of Middle-earth. His devotion to Melkor transformed him, and he became one of the most powerful servants of evil. After Melkor's defeat at the end of the First Age, Sauron sought to claim the mantle of Dark Lord for himself, beginning his own quest to conquer Middle-earth. However, much of his power was not inherent to him. Instead, it was bound to the physical world, specifically to the One Ring, which he forged in the fires of Mount Doom. The ring was a vessel for a significant portion of his strength and will, making him nearly invincible as long as it existed. But this connection also created a critical weakness. If the ring were destroyed, Sauron would lose his power, and potentially his very essence. The One Ring and the fall of Sauron. The One Ring was not just an artifact of power, it was the anchor to Sauron's existence. It gave him dominion over the other rings of power and allowed him to manipulate the minds of those who wore them. For centuries, his influence stretched over the free peoples of Middle-earth, bending them to his will. His armies, his shadow, and his malice spread across the lands, and his presence was felt even in the farthest reaches of the world. However, as Sauron's lust for power grew, so did his arrogance. He believed that by binding so much of himself to the ring, he would become invincible. The ring became a symbol of his absolute control over Middle-earth, but it was also his greatest vulnerability. If it were destroyed, Sauron's physical form would crumble, and his power would dissipate. The moment of truth came when Frodo Baggins, with the help of his companions, carried the ring to Mount Doom. Though Frodo was ultimately overcome by the ring's power, fate intervened. When Gollum, driven by his obsession, seized the ring and fell into the fires of Mount Doom with it. The ring was destroyed, and with it, Sauron's power was shattered. The destruction of the ring, the end of Sauron's physical form. When the One Ring was destroyed, the physical manifestation of Sauron's power was obliterated. His dark tower, Barad-dûr, which had stood as a symbol of his domination, crumbled into ruin. The lands of Mordor, once fertile with the dark energies of Sauron's influence, began to disintegrate, fading into desolation. The armies of Mordor, once unified by the power of the ring, were cast into chaos, scattering without their master's direction. At this moment, Sauron's physical form, a mere shadow of his former grandeur, was utterly obliterated. The Dark Lord, who had once commanded legions and instilled fear in the hearts of the free peoples, was now nothing but a memory. His influence over the land evaporated, leaving behind only the devastation he had wrought during his reign. However, the destruction of the ring did not signal the immediate end of his legacy. His armies might have fallen apart, and his fortress might have collapsed, but Sauron's vision of control and domination remained deeply ingrained in the minds of those who had followed him. The fear he had instilled in the hearts of his enemies, as well as his corrupting influence over the world, lingered. The fate of Sauron's spirit. The destruction of the One Ring did not mean the complete obliteration of Sauron's essence. As a Maia, Sauron was an immortal being, and his spirit could not be destroyed in the same way immortals might be. What the destruction of the ring did was sever Sauron's connection to the physical world, leaving him in a weakened, fragmented state. His power was tied to the ring, and without it, he was left adrift, unable to manifest or exert any influence over Middle-earth. Tolkien's work suggests that Sauron's spirit did not vanish entirely after the destruction of the ring, but it was left in a formless, powerless state. Unlike Morgoth, his former master, who was cast into the void after his defeat, Sauron was not banished to some other realm. Instead, he was left to wander, a shadow of his former self. His spirit could no longer take shape or influence the world in any meaningful way. This state of spiritual exile, while not a complete annihilation, was perhaps the most fitting punishment for one who had sought to dominate all of Middle-earth. Once a being of immense power, Sauron was now reduced to a tormented, impotent spirit, incapable of ever regaining his former strength. Theories on Sauron's fate. Although Tolkien never definitively answered what happened to Sauron's spirit after the destruction of the ring, several theories have emerged over the years. The most widely accepted theory is that Sauron's power was so thoroughly bound to the One Ring that its destruction left him utterly powerless. While his spirit endured, it was so diminished that it could never again influence Middle-earth or take physical form. This theory aligns with Tolkien's portrayal of evil as self-destructive. Sauron's overwhelming desire for control led him to bind so much of his essence to a physical object that, when the ring was destroyed, his defeat was total. In this view, Sauron's spirit may still exist, but it is nothing more than a lingering shadow, unable to affect the world again. Another possibility is that Sauron's spirit was cast into the void, as was Morgoth's. The void is a timeless, empty space reserved for the most powerful and corrupt beings in Tolkien's mythology. If Sauron's spirit was indeed cast there, it would have been a divine act of intervention by Eru Ilúvatar or the Valar, ensuring that Sauron would never return to the world. This theory, while speculative, fits with the broader themes of Tolkien's mythology, in which the forces of good often act decisively to eliminate the greatest evils. A third theory suggests that Sauron's spirit might remain in Middle-earth, though powerless. Some believe that in the distant future, the world could once again fall prey to the forces of darkness, and Sauron's spirit might return through another vessel or Dark Lord. However, this theory seems less likely given the world shifting toward an age of healing and renewal. The destruction of the ring marked the end of Sauron's influence, and the free peoples of Middle-earth were left to rebuild in the wake of his fall. The lasting legacy of Sauron. Though high physical form was destroyed and his power shattered, his legacy would continue to haunt Middle-earth. The effects of his reign were deeply felt in the lands he had corrupted, particularly in Mordor, where his influence had been most concentrated. The scars of war and the trauma of his domination would take time to heal. His dark presence had clouded the skies over Middle-earth, and his armies had ravaged the land. In the aftermath of Sauron's defeat, the Free People's men, elves, dwarves, and hobbits began the long process of rebuilding. The destruction of the One Ring did not immediately heal all the wounds Sauron had inflicted. The land of Mordor remained desolate, and the scars of his rule were not easily erased from the hearts and minds of those who had lived under his tyranny. Moreover, Sauron's influence remained in the minds of those who had served him. The Orcs, the Haradrim, the Easterlings, and others who had fought for him in the last battle were left to grapple with the loss of their leader. Some might have sought new forms of power, while others came to terms with the newfound freedom they had gained. The defeat of Sauron also marked the end of the Third Age of Middle-earth. It ushered in a new era, one of hope, healing, and renewal. But as long as evil existed in the hearts of men, his legacy would remain a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the corrupting influence of the desire for domination. The destruction of the One Ring and the fall of Sauron signified the end of an age of darkness and despair for Middle-earth. Yet, it also raised deeper questions about the nature of evil, the persistence of spirit, and the balance between light and dark. While Sauron's physical form and dominion were destroyed, his spirit, though diminished, was not entirely erased from existence. In the end, Sauron's story is one of ultimate defeat. His ambition and hubris led to his downfall, and the destruction of the One Ring was the final blow that severed his ties to the world. Though he might have lingered as a powerless shadow, Sauron's defeat was total, marking the triumph of good over evil in Middle-earth. Thus, the Dark Lord's reign ended not with a final clash of armies, but with the quiet destruction of an artifact that had bound his very essence. With the ring gone, Sauron was left as nothing more than a fragment of the past, an echo of power, lost forever to the fires of Mount Doom. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Hidden Kingdom. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Tolkien's world, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more explorations into the mysteries of Middle-earth. What do you think happened to Sauron? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, may your path be free of shadows and your heart full of light.